So this 3-hour journey ended up being 9 hours. They decided to take us on the back roads. On every junction, they would have policemen standing, so we wouldn't go off the junction. Now remember the times. 19.5 hours we drove, and then it was 4 hours, then we drove for another 15 hours, then we were awake for another 15 hours, and now another 9-hour journey. And in some vehicles there was only a single driver. Only a single driver. And subhanAllah, a third of the convoy never reached Fez. They were too tired, physically too tired to drive. And every time you would speak to the police, they would say, oh, it's only 25 kilometers further. 25 kilometers further. This is what they would repeat. The brothers were telling me we were so tired that we were driving, we had our heads out of the window, so the breeze would hit our face. Other brothers were telling me that they were slapping themselves. One brother told me that he was pouring water over his head. And wallahi, it was a miracle that there was only one accident. We hadn't slept for a couple of days. Only one accident. We had over 100 vehicles. And only one accident happened. And we don't gloat over the suffering of anybody. But the police escort which was taking us, the driver of the car fell asleep. And he went off the road. And the brother who was behind him said, wallahi, when I saw the police car go off the road, I was so tired, I thought I was hallucinating. Alhamdulillah, we reached, the ones who reached about 5 o'clock in the morning. And the Moroccan authorities said that they would send us some coaches in the afternoon to go into Fez, because Fez has the oldest Islamic university in the history of Islam. So they said 3 o'clock. 3 o'clock came, no coach. 3:30 they said, 3:30 no coach. 4 o'clock they said, 4 o'clock no coach. 5 o'clock they said, no coach. We realized that they have no intention of allowing us to go into Fez. They didn't want people to see us. From Morocco we went to Algeria. We crossed the border which had been closed for 15 years. The first time in 15 years that border had opened was because of this convoy. There was some conflict between the two countries. And I was just in Umrah, and I met a couple of brothers who were from that city, Ujda, in Morocco. And I told them about the convoy, and they said, yes, we saw the convoy. And they said, when you go back, say, thank George Galloway on the behalf of the people of Morocco, that he has achieved something on two fronts that no Arab leader has been able to do. One was open this border, and second, take a convoy to assist the Palestinians. When we went into Algeria, mashallah, the official reception was very nice. They had a lot of media. They even had a band. The brothers were saying, astaghfirullah, astaghfirullah. But let me tell you one thing. This journey was very difficult. It was a difficult journey. Brothers were cracking up. They thought it was going to be a Butlins holiday. And no exaggeration. When you stop at the service station and there's only 2 toilets and there's 300 of you, and by the time the third person uses the toilet is blocked. When you go to a restaurant and by the time 30 people have eaten, the food's finished. Brothers were cracking up. They were fighting. And this was, the insight of Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anhu, when he said, if you want to know a person, travel with him. You will know his nature. You will know his nature. And when the morale was low, wallahi, it was the people who kept us going. The receptions were just amazing. Wallahi, people would stand on the side of the street and they would see the convoy and they would cry. They would bring their children for us to kiss. They would kiss us. They would come to the van, poor people, and they would take off their watches and they would say, give it to the people of Gaza. Women would take off their bangles and they would give it to the people of Gaza. I remember we prayed Maghrib. In Morocco, when this old man came up to me and he shook my hand, he said, Wallahi antumur rijal. Wallahi, his words pierced my heart, although there was no reality to them. He said, I swear by Allah, you people are true men. You people are true men. You know, we were driving in the middle of nowhere, and there was this man with his 2 daughters, and they flagged us down, you know, and he gave us a bag which had just rice and a bit of money in it. This is all he could afford. And it had a pink letter which was written by his children for the children of Gaza. And he said, please give this to the people of Gaza. Wallahi, every time our morale was low, it was the people that kept us going. And hundreds of people said, they said, if it wasn't for the borders or for our government, tell Ismail Haniya, tell the people of Palestine, we would have come in our millions to assist them. And you know, the way the people treated us, they would give us food. You know, there was an occasion where a person gave us a cake which was big enough to be a wedding cake. All the way to Gaza, I spent £20. That's all I spent. And you know, again and again, we would see the help of Allah. You know, my driving and Algeria's road didn't go too well together. And I remember I was driving and I hit a big boulder. And I thought I had written the vehicle off. I hit it so hard. I slammed the brake, we got out, and the rim had bent. And we had a puncture. And this was literally, there's hardly any shops. And we looked behind us, the closest shop was a tire shop. But it was 8 o'clock in the evening, the place was shut. There's nobody there besides one policeman. And from a distance we saw a man get out of the car, he's walking towards us, and he happened to be the owner of the shop. And he opened it. And mashallah, in 10 minutes we were gone. I remember on another occasion we went past a garage, and one of our vehicles needed repair. And we turned into this garage, and the owner began to smile. And he said, Wallahi, when I saw this caravan, when I saw this qafila, this convoy going past, I thought to myself, I wish I had the honor of serving it. And he said, I was just thinking this. And the convoy turned towards my shop. You know, wallahi, you know, it was a life-changing experience for many. I've been in the dawah field for many years. For many people this was a life-changing experience. And for everybody it was a life-enriching experience. You know, I remember when we went into Tunisia, it was cold. You know, Tunisia and Algeria were colder than Europe, because in the evening you had this biting wind. It would bite, and it was mid-February. I remember one day we went across to the border in Tunisia, and I was praying the Maghrib Salah, and I was shaking in Maghrib. And I thought it was old age. And I did my salam, and I turned around and I saw the brothers who still had who had missed the rakats. And they were also shaking. But I swear by Allah, the pleasure and the satisfaction you got in those prayers, there was no substitute for it. By Allah, 2 weeks ago I came back from Umrah. I prayed Salah behind Sudais in front of the Kaaba. And this is not degrading the Kaaba or Sudais, but the satisfaction I got in those Salahs, in the path of Allah, there was no substitute to it. To a degree now I understand the words of Khalid bin Walid radiyallahu anhu when he said, going in the path of Allah on a dark frosty night is more beloved to me than the first night with my new wife. He said, going in the path of Allah on a dark frosty night is more beloved to me than the day I am given glad tidings of a newborn child. To a degree, I understand why the Sahaba left Makkah and Medina and went to the 4 corners of the world and they died there. To a degree, I understand why Salahuddin, the liberator of Quds, the king of Egypt, Syria, Lebanon, Yemen, decided to live in a tent rather than his palaces, because he gained a pleasure from it. There was no substitute. And you know, when you go to these countries, you know, you see the sunny side. We actually saw the dark side of these countries. These were serious police states. Since we entered Tangiers until we reached Gaza, all the way through, we had a police escort. And we saw that, what he saw, what kind of police states that these are.